Hi all, welcome to PleightPad. Here we use weird controllers to play modern games. Today I have a very small but mighty gimmick controller that I bought from Newberry Comics. On the package it is labeled as the world's smallest gamepad. My computer recognizes it, I kid you not, as a keyboard called Mini Plus. I made a community post not too long ago asking what game should have the displeasure of being played on this controller. Sussy Sam suggested I should play Baldi's Basics. What a wonderful idea! Our goal for today is to make Baldi's Basics comfortably playable on the Mini Plus. As an aside, I'm going to try to give WinU Pro a rest for today. I'd very much like to showcase other software if possible. I'm determined that we can make this happen without the use of a shift button too. If you aren't familiar, Baldi's Basics is a 3D horror game made in March of 2018. The premise of it is that you have to go around a school, do math, and inevitably escape. Wacky characters each serve a purpose to either redirect your path or slow you down. You have to start the game over entirely if you get caught by Baldi himself. Disregarding the pause button, this game needs 11 inputs to be comfortably playable. You need to be able to move in the 4 directions and look left and right. Other requirements include an interact button, the ability to look back, the option to cycle the hotbar, a use item button, and a run button. The menu cursor is also operated by the 4 directions of movement. We have just barely more to work with buttons-wise on the Mini Plus than the NES controller, at less than half the size. The controller has a rudimentary joystick, start, select, A, B, X, and Y. On the controller it advertises there are L and R button outputs if you press 2 buttons at a time. Apparently, if you press A and X at the same time, it produces the L output, and if you press B and Y at the same time, it will produce the R output. Quick tests on X output proved this to be true. However, if I press the 2 buttons to make either the L or R output, it still registers the 2 original buttons. I will disregard L and R since producing those 2 outputs will be more trouble than it's worth. With all this in mind, the Mini Plus will provide me with 10 total buttons to work with. My original plan going into this video was to make Baldi's Basics play like SNES Doom, using either X output or X360 CE. Since, after all, Nintendo is a great company that has never made a bad decision, let's try what they did. The original Doom is the same style of 3D game, so in theory this should work. Doom's solution for lacking a second joystick was to use the L and R buttons for strafing. Since I am lacking functional L and R buttons, I will have to sacrifice X and B for that purpose. With this plan, I had to rule out X output immediately. The way it maps buttons only allows for a joystick to be emulated as a joystick. Thankfully, X360 CE allowed me to map X and B to right and left on the left joystick. Yay, I could strafe. Moving on, up and down on the joystick is to move forward and back, and left and right is to look left and right. I mapped A as the interact button, Y as the button to look back, select is to use item, and start is to cycle items. Let's see how that worked out.
Menus are going to be impossible to navigate. This is just awful. I can barely play it.
Nintendo could go f themselves. Why did I trust them to map anything properly? We can do better. I remedied this by making the joystick strictly for movement control. X and B are now for looking left and right. Since this forces me to look around at max speed, I just turned the camera sensitivity down. This control layout felt incredible actually. I almost ended the video there until I had a horrible realization. Any hyper-observant Baldi masters have probably been screaming at the screen ever since I yapped about the first button mapping.
How do you sprint? Can you sprint?
I totally forgot that you need to run in horror games. That's fine, we just need to double up on a button since I'm technically using all 10 of them. I figured A could be a great multi-purpose button for interacting and running. If you try to interact with nothing, nothing happens. On the flip side, if you press the run button when you aren't moving, it won't do anything. These would be the perfect 2 buttons to morph together. However, that's when I learned X360 CE does not allow me to map 2 buttons as a single button. Since X output and X360 CE do not work for this purpose, I am forced to use WinU Pro. Thankfully WinU Pro, being the goated application that it is, allows me to map buttons to joysticks and lets me double up. Yippee! With this final edit, it finally felt completely comfortable for me to play. I was not missing any necessary functions except for a pause button. Just as a review, the joystick is for moving in the 4 directions, X and B are for looking around, A is the interact as well as the run button, Y is to look backwards, and start is to cycle the hotbar to the right. The controller is small, but that totally works to my advantage. Unlike the NES controller, the Mini Plus's size makes pressing start and select so easy. I was expecting this controller to be completely awful to use. This game was so playable on the Mini Plus, I actually decided to keep playing for a while. The Mini Plus absolutely deserves an outstanding 9 out of 10. Despite being an absolute gimmick controller, it gets the job done well. And it's so comfortable to hold despite its size. The virtually unusable L and R outputs is the only thing preventing me from giving it a perfect 10 out of 10. If there's any takeaway from this video, it's that I'm better at button mapping controllers than Nintendo is. Let's hope they were taking notes. To you, my dear viewers, I hope you have a nice rest of your day.